you don't know, but he was just kind of a bigger dude. And I think I had a line in there like it was, thanks for taking the time to put together this event and stop throwing barrels at Super Mario.
Dude, he would not have found that funny.
No.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 3 of 2023. I'm recovering from the massive storms we've been getting here in Northern California, and we lost power multiple times. With me, I have my co-host Brian Deach, who's always in fear of those desert flash floods.
I don't know if I'm actually in fear of them, but I definitely enjoy them. We went out mudding this past weekend, and let me tell you, I found dirt where dirt should not have been. And on top of that, we went into one particularly shady area in the Razor, and there's such a volume of water that came in and mud upon us was this amazing, right? But it was really, really cold. But the downside, I went to go take a shower and I found a toothpick and some red yarn in my beard. So that was kind of strange. And then a couple days later, we went back out and the driver's side, like near the footwell, was like a wet blanket that somehow it must have been in the water that we drove into, and it splashed up. I had no idea. Like, there was just so much mud and chaos, but it was a good time.
There's a literal wet blanket in there and you didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sent us some pictures in the group chat, and that mudding was no joke. That was some legit mudding.
It's fun.
Good for your skin, though.
Oh, yeah. Feels so hydrated.
Mud bath. No Glenn this week. He has a literal swimming pool at his house due to the massive storms we've been having. Hope to have him back next week. Coming in clutch, we have our 4th host returning this week, T-Ball.
Hey, Mr. Deach, Mr. Louie, thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's great to be back.
Great. Now everyone knows my last name. Thanks a lot.
It's Silver, right? Duke Silver?
Something like that.
Combined, we have decades of information security experience and here not just to educate, but entertain. We've got 4 fantastic stories for you this week, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Another reminder, check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@PEBCAK Podcast, and a reminder to send us your Ask Me Anything questions for our 100th episode, which is approaching quickly. This week, we're going to close the loop on TikTok and ChatGPT. Open with the host's 2023 nicknames. For our first story, we're going to cover a romance scam with a twist. Next, we have a story inspired by the movie Office Space. For our third story, a ransomware gang follows its moral compass. And close with AI judging your alcohol choices.
$5 says...
Programming note.
Oh, I'm going to interrupt you, Chris. $5 says Todd Morton has no idea what Office Space even is.
Oh, also you gave away my last name. Nice. I do, in fact.
Oh, you actually did sit down and actually watch a movie and stop lifting the heavy weights. All right. Who knew? I just lost $5.
It has been a decade or two, but yes. If you're in IT, you've seen Office Space. We can assume that.
If you've been in corporate America, you've probably seen Office Space, not just IT.
Precisely.
Well, I guess... Yeah. It does apply. Yeah, Peter's character, Ron Livingston's character, is in IT. Yeah, you're right. But I think it does apply widely to corporate America.
Yeah. Agreed.
2 of these stories were posted by our coworker, Sandy. So shout out to you, Sandy. Thanks for the fun stories this week. Closing the loop this week, January 10th, 2023 marks the end of extended service updates for Windows 7. We'll once again have to pour one out for our old friend Windows 7.
Bye, Windows 7.
Oh,
See you later. Every once in a while, I get customers that still ask, like, hey, do you guys support Windows 7? I'm like, oh, really? You guys make money in life? I'm like, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. You know, we had Vista. That was a huge miss. We had Windows 8. That was a huge miss.
Terrible.
It was XP, 7, and 10.
What about Windows
The only
ME,
usable-
baby? That was crisp technology right there.
Windows
Millennium
95
Edition.
changed, yeah, my Windows 95 changed my life. I'm not sure how, but it did.
Yeah. From 3.11.
Oh boy.
I think my first introduction to Windows was probably Windows for workgroups. What about you guys?
Yeah. Windows 3.1. I think that was my intro.
I think I was on before that. I think I was on 3.0. I remember DOS. So it's DOS 6 and then Windows 3.0 before they made it good with 3.1 and then 3.1.1, which was their service pack.
I definitely dabbled in the DOS days, that's for sure. I remember my mom's she's like, well, you can do DIR. And then she's like, you can look around for stuff. I was like, all right. And that just cut me loose. It was like a crazy man looking for executables.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
A report from The Record states that the U.S. House of Representatives banned the Chinese-owned social media app TikTok from all their devices. So a TikTok ban is slowly but surely making its way across America.
I'm so happy to hear this. I mean, not like they work that much anyways, but, we'll probably recoup a couple hours here and there that they won't be screwing around on their devices anymore. And
there won't be Chinese spies on their devices.
You think they just probably sit back and laugh? Like, these idiots trying to approve these rules. 1.7 trillion.
Yep.
That's 13 zeros, right? Is that what you said, Chris?
That is a lot of zeros. Yeah. Lastly, we have two intersecting stories. The first is that students are using ChatGPT to write their essays, and it's defeating all the anti-plagiarism software professors are using. The second story is about a Princeton student who wrote a program to detect if an essay was written using ChatGPT. We're once again in the arms race of the trace buster, and then someone creates the trace buster buster, and then the other side creates the trace buster buster. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with this ChatGPT and how it intersects with academia.
The sheer fact that you can ask ChatGPT to write something from a perspective of, I don't know, somebody that loves barbecue, but also hates the American flag, and it will do it. I think it would be very, very hard to detect plagiarism with their tool. There's just so many different iterations of what you can do. I think if it's like, hey, write me an essay on why the Constitution is cool, that'd probably be pretty easy to pick up. When you start to give it some complex thinking, I think that'd be very difficult to solve.
The professor that caught the student cheating, the professor actually went on ChatGPT and did various iterations of the questions and the prompts, and he could not get an exact same output. And the only way the professor actually found out was he confronted the student, and the student fessed up to it. So even with the anti-plagiarism software, even trying to mimic questions to ChatGPT, it was nearly impossible for them to detect. So I don't know what this Princeton student did. It'll be interesting to see how they're detecting it. But an exact match like what the current software is used for is totally useless in detecting these things.
There's someone at Princeton right now saying, whoa. We blocked the website. There's no way they could possibly be using it. And then everyone's like, what about their phones, dude? I'm sure there's another way that they could have gotten to it. No, we block it here at Princeton. We know. You guarantee there's somebody over there that thinks like that.
The New York City Department of Education, they actually banned ChatGPT from all of their school-owned devices. So all their Chromebooks, all their university computers, or K through 12, I guess, all the K through 12 computers, they cannot access ChatGPT. They have a special piece of software that blocks them from accessing this website.
Like locking a screen door.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I'm going to ask my high school kids about ChatGPT, see if they know what I'm speaking of. Curious.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
There's an alarming amount of people that don't know about ChatGPT, and it has a $29 billion valuation if they IPO. Isn't that right, Chris?
Yeah, that's the current valuation is $29 billion for the last round. And as the biggest threat to Google since Google, I think 29 is low. I think this could be 10x that easy. Eventually, not right now. Obviously, it's still in beta.
And that threat to Google coming in the form of absence of sponsored content?
Yeah, exactly. Not only absence of sponsored content, but you get an answer. If I do a Google search for a question, that takes me to a link that has the answer, and I have to Control F it to find the answer.
Right.
ChatGPT, I just ask it a question, it gives me an answer, and that's it.
Oh boy.
Lastly, in terms of insulting people, but sounding like you're not insulting people, in our group chat earlier today, due to the massive storms we've had here in the Bay Area, a tree fell down in my yard, and I sent a picture to the group chat, and I said I'm going to have to go get a chainsaw and chop this tree up, and I'll have some nice firewood. And Brian responded in the chat that says, and I quote, "If you take care of this yourself, you are more of a man than I accounted for, and I am proud of you." Talking about how to insult people without sounding like you're insulting them. I don't know how I should feel about that, Brian, but I'll show you the picture of the firewood once it's all chopped up.
Wow, I'm impressed. Yeah. That's a big tree, though. I'll give you credit. That's going to be a little bit of work for sure.
Yeah.
Trees. It was 2 trees, right?
Yeah, it was 2 trees, and I just have to find a day where it's not going to rain, and we're going to get rain pretty much all this week, and I don't want to chop a tree in the rain, so I'll have to figure it out.
Well, in the effort to sound weak. Oh.
I do not. I haven't had this problem before. I own like a sawzall. That'll get through the branches, but I don't think it'll get through the trunk.
Real man, just chop it.
Just use dental floss. Yeah.
Karate chop.
Have you heard of duct tape? You're not going to try to replant the tree? Just push it back up, anchor it down?
Nobody's got time for that.
Like, I legit get sad when we lose trees in Arizona just because there's like no trees. And anytime we lose them, it's just like, oh, there goes the shade. It's going to take another 15 years to grow. It just blows.
Let's plant one now. All right, for our opening topic, I wish we had Glenn for this. I don't know if we should push this topic. I'll leave it up to you guys. But we're going to nominate and select our 2023 nicknames for the year. Todd, I think, is the low-hanging fruit. We have the Jewish Juggernaut. We have Sasquatch. We have Bigfoot. And I think, Brian, you mentioned one more last episode. I don't remember which one it was.
I thought it was a Sasquatch Bigfoot. It's because we've heard of him. We just don't see him on the podcast very often. So,
yeah. I thought it was for a different reason. Good to know. Yeah.
What could the other reason be?
We'll say that for a different podcast. Yeah. Well, listen, they're all solid choices, but I think I have to go with the Jewish Juggernaut based on the branded PEBCAK Podcast mousepad that Chris sent my way. So I'm going with that one, babe.
I like it. All
right. Todd's 2023 nickname, the Jewish Juggernaut. Since Glenn is not here, we have the option to pick it for him. The 2 I came up with is Pool Boy and DJ, because he's always having audio issues.
Wasn't it last year was Boomerang? Because I thought he was going to come back to Z-Scare, but he did not.
Yeah. That was a 2022 prediction that didn't come true.
What's the name you can have for someone that just seems like they're just always on edge?
Always on edge. Why do you think Glenn's always on edge?
Yeah, he's pretty relaxed.
No. There's certain things just like you can just tell he's frustrated. He's just ready to open up a beer and call it a day.
Anxious Andy.
Anxious Andy. Yeah. Or more like frustrated Phil. How about that? An F and a PH. Put those 2 things together.
Frustrated Fred. The FR alliteration.
There you go.
Pool Boy is strangely entertaining.
Yeah, he's... I would say he's the only one out of us that has a pool, but Ryan has one already, so we can't say that. All right, he's Frustrated Fred until we come up with a better one. All right, for Brian, I have 2. We call him High T or CTE.
Hopefully by the time this is aired, we'll all know what CTE actually stands for.
Yeah, it's not the brain damage you get from football.
No.
Although there's a odd intersection of that one here. But High T or CTE. Unless you can...
How about Havoc the Mouthpiece? Does anyone understand that reference? If anybody did, I would think it would be... I'm going to call you T-Ball.
That works too. Havoc the Mouthpiece.
Jewish Juggernaut.
Yeah, we have multiple nicknames. I was the Human VPN. I was Mr. Elastic.
Just kidding.
Havoc the Mouthpiece.
Do you remember that one or no? Okay.
I don't.
It was there was a group of rappers. I think it was called South Central Cartel. One of the guys' names is Havoc the Mouthpiece. Don't ask why that came to my mind today. I'm thinking this year maybe I'll go with something like Little Lethal, Blade, maybe Phantom, Crusader. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think we can.
I think you're onto something with Havoc the Mouthpiece.
Yeah, I like that too.
I think that works on several levels.
All right, Havoc the Mouthpiece. There it is.
All right, and since we don't get to pick our own nicknames, I left my section blank, and I'll leave it up to you two.
Mr. Inappropriate, for sure.
I'm the inappropriate one
Yes,
on this
always you.
podcast, Brian.
Not on the podcast and in real life. You'd be sending out some risky stuff.
Yeah, I have some thoughts, but no, I'm gonna keep those to myself for now.
All right, well, I reject that nickname because I'm 100% appropriate on the podcast. You'll have to come up with something better.
How about ADD, Amazon Delivery Driver?
ADD works. That works on some levels as well.
How about we just call you? How about we just call you Bros? That's
Bros. No, we need a clever nickname.
Elastic Man still works, though. I mean, that's who you are. Like, next time we meet, I want to look at your iPhone and see your structure of categories that you have in there, or folders for people.
All right. So I will accept ADD for now until something better comes on. And we'll get Glenn's input on this once he's back too.
Okay.
All right. So in summary, Todd's going to be the Jewish Juggernaut.
Yes, sir.
Glenn is Frustrated Fred. Brian is Havoc the Mouthpiece. And I will be ADD, Amazon Delivery Driver.
Todd's still the best.
I don't know, dude. Havoc the Mouthpiece is it's so catchy.
It is. All right, for our first topic, since we did such a heavy episode last week about the Twitter files, we are going to do a complete 180 and do a few lighthearted stories that take much less serious tone. We open with a story that a 65-year-old Japanese woman fell victim to a romance scam. A romance scam is where scammers meet people online and hook them with the promise of a romantic relationship. After the victims are hooked, the scammer comes up with some type of story where they need money, hoping the victim will send them money with the promise of helping them escape a bad situation or buy a plane ticket to come and visit. Well, this Japanese woman, unfortunately, fell victim to a romance scam where she thought she was chatting with a Russian astronaut stuck in space.
What is his name, Vlad?
Yuri Gagarin.
Yuri, okay.
Oh, wow.
He asked for money to buy a spaceship to return back to Earth and to pay for landing fees once he makes it back to the ball of rock we all call home.
Good Lord.
It's never funny when someone gets catfished or romance scammed, but this highlights the need to educate our elders about online scams and how to spot and stop them. According to the US FBI's IC3 report in 2021, that's the latest report that we have, it states that romance scams and confidence scams cost U.S. victims about $956 million every year. So that's no chump change. That's a lot of scratch, as Brian likes to say.
Yeah, I could have bought a lot of Chick-fil-A for $956 million. BTW, Chris loves Chick-fil-A. I think it's overrated. That's for the Jewish
Love that
Juggernaut.
delicious chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one's hard to kind of wrap your head around. I mean, while I do understand the very prevalent scam, in this case, romance scams that are out there, an astronaut is stuck in space. Like, I don't know. How do we find ourselves giving money in that situation?
I know what it is. She was watching The Last Man on Earth, and the brother to Phil is Jason Sudeikis, and he was actually stuck in outer space when the little pandemic hit. And so I forget how he got back to Earth, but it was maybe she was just watching that show and just happened to believe it. What do you think, Chris?
That's true. That is definitely one theory. And the other theory is just people aren't educated enough to spot these things. That I know a lot of those, like Nigerian 419 scams. There's an article a while back that said, why are they so poorly written with really bad grammar and really unbelievable stories? And they said the people that actually respond to it, despite all the misspellings and despite the unbelievable premise, those are the most gullible, and you'll actually get a hit. Because if it's too convincing, you put in all this work, the scammers put on all this work, and then when they ask for the money, there's no payoff because the person says, no, this can't be real. But if you hook somebody on something that's obviously a scam, then you can usually get your money that way.
Reminds me of my grandma. She's like, we're a little skeptical of this because this is the 5th time someone told us to leave a bag full of money at a Greyhound bus station bathroom. But, fool me once, shame on me. I can't say the rest of that joke, unfortunately.
You said it on this podcast, and I've had to bleep it out.
I know you did.
But the scammer asked for money to build a spaceship?
Yeah.
And
to buy a spaceship.
Buy a spaceship and then pay for the landing fees.
Yeah.
Like, what if he actually went through with this? Like, he's like, all right, got the money. All right, honey, I'm home. I want to come see you. Can you imagine, the story? Which dovetails into the Office Space one. I got a doozy for you guys on that. So maybe we shift gears.
All right.
Since Brian said Office Space, for our second lighthearted topic, someone actually pulled off a real-life Office Space. And I'm guessing from your reactions, both of you have already watched it. Did it resonate with you at all?
Oh, yeah.
F&A, man. F&A.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Each day was longer than the previous.
I miss betting games, don't you?
Oh, yeah.
I watch it when I was in high school, but even then it resonated with me when I was working a dead-end job and going to work every day. It seemed like I was voluntarily checking myself into jail, and I dreaded the walk between the parking garage and my desk. But it's a true timeless masterpiece of a movie. I mean, it's probably 20 years old at least by this point, and it still speaks to the corporate worker in me for sure.
Have either one of you actually done the violent thing and taken out like a printer or router or server and beat the crap out of it like they did in the movie? I have, of course.
Yeah, not surprising. No, I've exercised some pretty decent self-control, so not up to this point.
I have not, but I've just recently learned that smash rooms are a thing. Like you go into a room, you have padded gloves and goggles and everything, and they give you a bat or a crowbar. You just break anything you want in that room. They have like TVs and plates, and I guess it's just a way to get out your anger and frustration. But yeah, apparently that's a thing. You can go and pay to beat up a printer if you want to.
Didn't we do that at RSA or something like that, where you were able to smash your old appliances and go to the cloud?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was the Smash booth. So I think the first 3 years, I want to say, I was here. We had that at Black Hat and RSA. We had to stop it for 2 reasons. One, we got too many noise complaints. Our neighbors were not happy with the level of noise on it. And 2, it's becoming a gigantic liability. The first year we had it, it did not have a roof. The next year it did have a roof, and I bet the lawyers made us put it there because pieces were flying out the top of the Smash booth.
Dang.
Yeah.
And
sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, a developer cleverly programmed a company's e-commerce platform to send the shipping fees for online orders to his own account and deposit the rest of the money, the balance, into the company's account. This practice went undiscovered for several months while it was happening, and the inside hacker here netted $5 per order until he amassed over $300,000 of ill-gotten gains. The thief was caught with a file on his laptop called Office Space Project.doc, which outlined his scheme to, quote, clean up evidence by manipulating audit logs and disable alarm logging.
Can we get the world's dumbest criminal up front, please? Jesus.
So I don't know if this falls... So there are really stupid criminal stories, like the guy that tries to rob a coffee shop, but all the off-duty police officers are there. Like, that's truly stupid. This, I think, was clever. He just didn't do a good job of covering his tracks. Poor OPSEC.
Well, whatever the hell they were selling is good. I mean, that 5 goes into 300,000 like 60,000 times. Whatever they're selling, it was moving off the shelves. Must have been toilet paper, unfortunately, during COVID.
Probably.
Yeah, you got to give him credit, though, for his creativity as far as only just nipping off a $5 chip instead of something that might cause more alarms to go off. So
I think 5 is pretty high in online retail, to be honest with you. I think you should have gone smaller.
Yeah, I think that's how they got caught. They discovered that the amount they were receiving for shipping was way off than what they should have had. So if he took like $1 off each transaction, they probably might not have noticed as much. But since he took the entire shipping fee off every order, I think that threw up the red flag.
It won't happen. So years ago, my wife's like, hey, we need to go hang out with Crystal and her husband, and they're fun people. And I'm like, great, I have to go be friends with someone else's husband now. And so we go out to dinner, and we're doing the whole like, hey, how'd you guys meet? And whatever, and stupid stories. I didn't really care. And then Crystal's like, oh, well, Brian's in IT. You should tell him your story about when you hacked the bank. I was like, oh, go on, say less. He proceeds to tell us the story, the entire plot line of Office Space. And I'm like,
Superman 3.
And I'm sitting there like, are you flipping kidding me? I'm just looking at him like, dude, I know you're lying. And he knows that I know, right? But his wife, who has no interest in the movie Office Space, nor did my wife have any clue. I'm like, I am flipping out. I'm like, there's no way. Like, this is just crazy. So we come home. I tell my wife, I was like, here's the show. I'm like, this is the entire plot line. She's like, no way. Let's watch the movie, guys. I want to see. So we sit down and watch the movie. She's like, I can't watch this movie. It sucks. I'm like, no, you suck. Like, this is a great movie. She's like, I'll take your word for it. And so then she proceeds to tell Crystal, and then Crystal watches the movie, and then they get divorced. This story ended terribly.
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Wow.
no.
I'm just kidding. They didn't get divorced. I don't think we actually ever told Crystal what was actually going on, but talk about a giant red flag. Like he was convinced, like no one else, and like this is a cult movie that no one's ever heard of, but I knew about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of the most popular movies of all time, at least in corporate America, and I'm sure in other industries as well. How did he think he would get away with that? And
Right.
I was gonna say you should have started making comments like, oh, was there a guy named Milton there that was obsessed with the red stapler?
I think he did bring up the red stapler. Like, yeah, man.
Well,
What would you do if you had $1 million?
Yeah. That's good. It didn't make it back to his wife, though. That would have not been nice.
Yeah, the bro code. Brian followed the bro code.
He did. Very proud of you, Brian.
I don't know that I did, but
we didn't out him on the spot. I bet it was very tempting to out him on the spot.
it was, yeah.
Self-control, man. Impressive.
I did change the names of the people in the story just in case.
Yeah.
They're still married too, by the way. I don't know that. I don't care.
It's Brian's social skills at work. This guy's got caught. He will spend some time in prison, and he did not get to retire on some beach in Mexico with some traveler's checks. So,
well, 300 grand
They
wasn't
got him
enough
and-
anyway, so.
Too
yeah.
bad. So sad.
Speaking of Mexico, I was messaging Brian on the side about his cartel TikTok. Apparently, cartel TikTok is blowing up literally right now because of the cartel violence in Sinaloa, from the Sinaloa cartel in Mexico right now. So that's a thing. That really is a thing.
Viewer discretion is advised. I'm sorry, zero discretion. Viewer discretion is advised. Like what I saw, like, yeah, it could have been on a Faces of Death video. So just be careful if you're going to go out searching for that.
For the cartel TikTok.
Yeah.
All right. For our third topic, who says there's no honor among thieves? The LockBit ransomware gang apologized and provided a free decryptor to the Canadian Children's Hospital called the Hospital for Sick Kids. An affiliate of the ransomware as a service platform encrypted the data on the network of this Sick Kids Hospital, which resulted in real-world consequences where lab orders had to be written by hand and delivered, patients had to be turned away, and care was delayed. LockBit has a formal policy not to attack hospitals, especially ones who care for children, and many ransomware as a service platforms have explicit instructions for their affiliates not to attack critical infrastructure and healthcare, not because they believe it's wrong, but because it brings bad publicity and unwanted government scrutiny. Now, not everything here is positive. It took LockBit 2 weeks to provide the free decryptor, and by then the Hospital for Sick Kids had already recovered much of their systems from backup. LockBit also reserves the right to leak data exfiltrated from the hack and did not delete it. They only have a policy not to disrupt operations by encrypting their files.
Is this supposed to be like the feel good story of the week, Chris? Because I don't feel anything.
It's the ransomware group with the heart of gold.
Yeah, I don't feel anything. This is, I think it's called borderline personality disorder. Why are you guys laughing? Just kidding. Do you think that releasing this decryptor would somehow impact LockBit's bottom line? Like, do you think that decryptor could be used in other facilities where they don't have these rules? Is this new shareware is what I'm getting at, Chris?
It's per organization. There's the per organization decryption key, and then there's a global master decryption key. There are some ransomware groups, when they go defunct and they go out of business, they release the master decryptor just because they're not going to make any more money. But when they release the decryptor, it's usually per organization.
So is the claim here that there is honor among thieves, or is there not honor among thieves?
I would say there is. They made good on their promise to not hack healthcare, or their affiliate got away and they provided the decryptor. They probably should have done it quicker, and they probably should delete the files, but at least they made good and provided the decryptor.
All I know is if I'm walking down the street and let's say my kid's with me or my niece, someone small, and a dog comes up and like mauls my niece, what we're gonna do with that dog, right? We gotta put it down.
Yeah.
If LockBit, not LockBit, I'm sorry, whoever attacked this children's hospital, right? Poor kids. Like, I'm sure we can penalize them, but I'm on the same boat that of the dog. I think if you capture these fools, we gotta put them down. I don't see why not. They're just gonna keep going around hurting people. What do you think? Am I a little too hard, a little too rough around the edges there, Chris?
Definitely got to punish them. This can't go unpunished. I think ransomware in general should be punished, but if you attack healthcare, specifically healthcare for children or healthcare for cancer patients or something, I think there should be an enhancement to their sentence if and when they're ever caught.
What if there was ransomware for like the GOP or the DNC? Is that like a free pass?
Just hit them both at the same time.
Yeah, just sit back and watch these guys. I'm sorry. Okay. Is there anything that you would be on board for, like for ransomware?
Oh, I'm sure there's things that fall into that.
Yeah, I think the closest one might have been, was it Travelex? That's that currency exchange company that you see at airports that charge exorbitant rates and fees. And I remember there was someone on InfoSec Twitter, I can't give proper credit because I don't remember who said it, but they said that it's criminal to hack and encrypt Travelex, and then someone replied, it's like, well, the fees they're charging are criminal. Something along those lines.
I didn't get on board. Like, I'm sure this could never happen because I don't think the KKK actually uses any technology, but if they did, I'd be in favor of that one.
Yeah, that'd be something like 8chan or one of those, they bill themselves as free speech, but they're just hate speech platforms, think like 8chan, and there are probably some other ones that are pretty bad. Kiwi Leaks, was that the one? It was Kiwi something that was also pretty bad, that they were doxing people to target.
That's something I could get
Kiwi
behind.
Farms, I think.
Right.
Doxing or swatting, I think those would be two ones that I'd get behind as well. Or is it the same thing? I don't even know. Is it?
No, so doxing is the act of giving away someone's address in the hopes that something like swatting happens. Swatting is
send them over there, right?
You send the SWAT team over there, and there's a special on Netflix that talks about the unfortunate swatting incident. I think it was in Kansas where two people got into an Xbox argument over Xbox. Someone said, come at me, bro. I live at this address. Gave some total random address, and unfortunately, the guy that lived at that address was murdered or killed. Accidentally killed by the police. It's actually, I remember when the story came out, but this documentary dives a lot deeper into it. It's a lot darker than I expected it to be, but interesting nonetheless. But yeah, swatting bad, doxing bad, unless it's doxing the criminals.
Wow, that thing just went dark. Good job,
yeah,
Chris.
This just went depressing.
All right, so let's try and elevate our mood a little bit our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about a story sent to us by our colleague Alex from the Australian newspaper. That developers are designing an AI system that can analyze your voice to determine if you've had too much to drink. For blood alcohol levels of 0.05%, it's about 75% accurate. And for a BAC of 0.12, which is well over the legal limit here in the US to drive, it's over 80% accurate. It serves as a good proof of concept, and I like the potential applications here. Many people who drink overestimate their skills and underestimate how alcohol has impaired their ability to drive. So something like AI to detect changes in speech patterns could be a more accurate sobriety test rather than walking a straight line or touching your nose.
There's a ton of Oh, I'm going to interrupt.
Okay.
Where do you want to go on?
You go.
Man, I think that this could actually work because there's a ton of videos out there, whether it's TikTok or Reels or whatever Facebook calls them, where it's like, me after one drink or me after one mimosa. Have you guys seen any of those videos? And then they proceed to drink like 5 or 6. I only know this because I saw one. It was terrible. Homegirl's like, me after one mimosa. And then she's like, on 6. And then the next thing you know, they show her like out in the parking lot and she's like on some dude's shoulders. And then the next video is her where she had fallen down and lost all of her front teeth. And she's just like smiling and she's completely wasted. I'm like, yeah, I think AI can pick up on this one. Like, I think chatbot would have been like, oh, she's going to lose her front teeth after like the 6th mimosa. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then just fast forward to the future. And yeah, she's this over here sitting there like gummy, wishing that she didn't have so many dang mimosas.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing I was going to say is the field sobriety test that an officer can administer out on the road, like they can engineer a test that even a sober person would fail. Like if I asked 100 sober people to stand on one leg and recite the alphabet backwards, I bet that would have an 80% or less pass rate.
Yep.
But with all things AI and ML, the more data it's fed, the more potential there is to perfect the system. What do you think? Should this be a field sobriety test? Should this be an app on your phone? Do you think it's good that we're using AI this way?
This is one of the AI things I think I can probably get behind.
Yeah.
The efficacy behind it, though, is the real question. Yeah.
Yeah. My question is if you don't have a baseline of a person's sober, context or voice, it might become less accurate to determine this. But at the same time, anything that's there to support, your level of blood alcohol, then for sure, I think it's a good thing. And as an application on your phone, I think it's even better. It'd be even better is like if you are drunk, it just like somehow locks you out of your phone or out of your car and then hails you an Uber. But I'm with Todd on this one. Like, you guys have seen the movie Waterboy, right?
Yeah.
Everyone in that movie would be classified as drunk, just based off of that southern thick accent that they had going on, especially that one dude where you had no idea what he was saying.
Wow. Brian, I thought you were about to just get serious and deep for a second. And you're all, you guys seen that movie Waterboy, right? Like,
serious and deep.
Have you seen the documentary Dodgeball? That's also...
If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Is that actually considered to be a documentary? It's not, is it?
No. Well,
sometimes like you know a movie by, oh, it's Dodgeball, and then you find out it's like the unlikely story of 2 idiots playing dodgeball. And you're like, oh, I didn't know it was the whole thing. Like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Nobody makes me bleed my own blood.
Did you guys ever see the Reno 9/11 skip, not skip, but the clip where he pulls someone over and he's like, do this, do that. And he's just killing the thing. Says the alphabet backwards and just does it like super quick. Have you guys seen that video?
No, I haven't seen that one.
Oh, all right, I'll have to find it. It's funny. And then just kind of gives it away at the very end. He's like, oh, I'm drunk. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I am pulling you over. I'm with you guys. I can say the alphabet backwards to save my life. I think I'd start with Z and be like, just take me away. Hey, I don't know, did you guys know this? That if you refuse to give your blood for the test, they can actually...
The breathalyzer.
You're like, no, I'm not doing the breathalyzer. They can actually do a court order to get a blood draw from you. And in Arizona, if you do that, you automatically lose your license for, I believe, 2 years, and you get to go spend the night in jail. So they can get a warrant for your blood.
Interesting. Wow. I've heard, so this is all purely anecdotal.
Okay.
This is not legal advice or anything, but I've heard if you refuse the breathalyzer, they have to drive you to the station to take your blood. And in that time it takes to drive you to the station, you might metabolize it quick enough to get it out of your system.
Maybe. I'm not willing to risk it. I'm just taking an Uber or a Lyft, man.
Yeah, either that or the other thing I could think of is they take your blood and said, well, at this time it was at this level, considering your body weight, the rate of your metabolism. When we pulled you over, you were actually at this rate. So I'm sure there's ways around that as well. But I think the key advice here, don't drink and drive. Call an Uber. It's much cheaper than a DUI ticket.
Nobody likes adult bumper cars, that's for sure.
Yeah. Nope.
The way I imagine it, like if it's an app on your phone, is it will probably baseline you. Like you have to be truthful. Like say, this is me when I'm sober, and then you record a baseline, and then I don't know if you can you can train it, like take one beer and say this is me after one beer, or and train it that way. I'm not sure how that would work, but I would think that it'd have to be a baseline so that all those people in the movie The Waterboy don't automatically get flagged as drunk incorrectly.
This is me after 3 tequilas. You just find me on the floor.
Blacked out.
Yeah. Well, there's so much liability. If you have to do a baseline with that test, just imagine. Or to program the app, like you're in a world trouble.
Yeah.
The app said I was good to drive, officer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet there's going to be massive disclaimers. Just this is not a tool to determine if your actual level is just guidance. So, sort of like the autopilot. Autopilot's not autopilot, it's driver assist.
Right. Yeah, if there's an app that can use AI to determine based on your speech pattern, then why not one based on your walking pattern or other telemetry patterns about your body? That again, it's all for a good reason, in my opinion.
Yeah. I'd try it if it were available. I'd try it, but they were probably a bit of ways from it. But good proof of concept. We continue to get great comments about our dad joke of the week. Dad joke of the week. This week, Brian's up.
Wow, I didn't even know that. Better think of one real quick. Oh, lying. I'm always prepared. So, did you guys know that when medical professionals will not refer to home births as deliveries? Because technically speaking, when a baby is born at home, it's not delivery, it's DJOW.
Oh, Lord.
Wah, 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 wah.
Oh, that's a good one.
All right, to wrap things up, we finally get to say goodbye to Windows 7. The ChatGPT arms race is heating up. Don't send money to someone claiming to be an astronaut. Office space scams are alive and well. LockBit provides a free decryptor after it's too late. And you can soon ask Siri if you're too drunk to drive. That's all we have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. You can find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers who rated us 5 stars in the iTunes Store and Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is to search for the PEBCAK Podcast on your favorite podcast listening app. For my co-hosts Brian Deach and Todd Morton, thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week, and as always, have a nice day.
Cheers.
Bye, Felicia.